Good morning, IVC Kids. I'm Miss Teri, and this month we've been talking about creativity and how there's no limit to God's creativity. We talked about how He created this world. We've talked about how He created you to be a masterpiece. We've talked about how you are created to have a purpose and you're created to work together. And today we're going to talk about how you are created to tell God's story. Our story today comes from Matthew chapter 5, and we're going to start in verse 13. But let me set the stage for you a little bit. Jesus had been teaching and going around teaching, and people had been coming in huge crowds to hear him. And this day was no exception. There were a lot of people who had come to hear Jesus. And as the people started gathering, Jesus went up on the mountain, and he sat down, and his disciples gathered around, and he began to teach them. And in verse 13, he says, "You are the salt of the earth." What in the world does that mean? Well, let's think about what salt does. Salt just makes things better. It adds flavor, it enhances flavor, and in some cases it even preserves food. Like when they didn't have refrigeration, they would use salt to preserve food. So salt just makes things better. So Jesus was telling them, you are what's going to make the world better. And then in verse 14, he says, "You are the light of the world." Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Let's think about maybe a flashlight. Now, if it's dark and you have a flashlight, the flashlight will show you the way to go. Or think on a bigger scale, a lighthouse. A lighthouse is like a tall building that has a light in the top and it's on the shore, and it sends its light out to the ships so they know where the shore is and they don't crash into it. So it kind of guides the ships. Or maybe you've been at your house and there's been like a thunderstorm and the power went out and it's really dark. And maybe your mom or dad got a candle and lit it. Candles kind of bring us hope in the darkness. Maybe you've been at a church service where they started with one candle and they spread it, and then the light just filled the room from just little candles. Candles give us hope. So Jesus was telling his disciples, you are the light of the world. He wanted them to make a difference. Another way that you make a difference is when you do good things for people, because it shows people that not only that you love them, but that God loves them. And that when you are part of God's family, that light shines everywhere and you are shining God's light. Those same verses in Matthew, just a little bit farther down, it says that our good works will lead people to glorify God. And we don't do things so that people will pay attention to us. We do it so that they will realize that God loves them and that we love them because God loves them. So you are created to share that story. You're created to be salt and make things better. You're created to be light and show the way and give hope. And you're created to do good deeds so that people will see God and give Him glory for the works that you do. I hope that you've enjoyed this unit in August that we've done on creativity as much as I have. I can't believe it, but next Sunday is September already, and we'll be starting a new unit. And speaking of starting new things, on September 13th, we're going to be back to in-person services, and this time we're going to have a kids service too. We're going to start those back up. Hey, but don't worry if you can't make it here. We're still going to be doing the live streams, including part of the children's story. So we'll have the children's story for those of you who are at home, and for those of you who can join with us, we'll have children's church over in the big building.